sometimes we don't win. Don't give us a bird, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show, Red River sponsors. It's time to start, enjoy the show.
Welcome along to Betting Weekly Live. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Nigel Seeley. We've got English League Cup, Scottish Premiership, Copa del Rey, darts all to cover with bets, leans, analysis coming your way, plus a daily double. But ahead of that, Nigel, as I say, very good day to you. We're going to talk tennis because there's a breaking story. Last few hours, six-time major champion Carlos Alcaraz has split with his longtime coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero. All of his Grand Slams, 6 all told, have been won with Ferrero as his coach. They've decided to part ways. Interesting quotes coming from his Twitter account, from his social media team. It seems as if it's his decision rather than Ferrero, who I think wanted to stay. Looking at some of the quotes here, how big a shock is this, and what do you think is going to happen going forward? I've got one or two questions for you, but first up, how big a shock is it at the end of what's been a really good season for him? Is it his best season ever, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, well, good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon, everyone watching today. Obviously, we are going to look at the sport action there, but that was the big breaking news this morning when we woke up to find the news that Alcaraz and Ferrero split up. Now, it's obviously a big shock because the two of them have been together since they were very young. I mean, he was 15 when he spotted Alcaraz as a talent, nurtured him through his early careers, won those majors with him, and they seem to be best buddies. They seem to be best friends as well as coaches. He was like a father figure to him, to a mentor. Obviously, Juan Carlos Ferrero has won one major before, and everything seemed all right. But then last year at the Paris Masters, I remember watching on TV, and they had an almighty bust-up. They were shouting at each other like you've never seen before. And there was obviously some tensions. It didn't really come as a huge surprise to me that the fact that they split up. Obviously, the tennis season starts in January. I think that Carlos, I mean, it's an interesting one, tennis, because the coaches are usually ex-players. Yeah. And, you know, what can you really teach Carlos Alcaraz, who's already won 6 majors at the age of 22, when you're Juan Carlos Ferrero and you've only ever won one major and you're nowhere near in the same league as a tennis player as what Carlos Alcaraz is? I think it was more as a mentor, as a father figure for him, to get him to the major tournaments, to get him mentally prepared. And I think now the challenge is, how do you compete competitively against Jannik Sinner? Because Jannik Sinner has now probably gone on a little bit more than Carlos Alcaraz. And in all fairness, you know, the majors and the major titles are going to come down between these two for many, many years. And perhaps he looks at Juan Carlos Ferrero and thinks, with him as my coach, the tactical adjustments I need to beat Jannik Sinner, he isn't capable of doing them. And usually you would find that when there is a split in like this in tennis, they probably got a coach already lined up. So I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody in very, very quickly, because the season starts in Australia, you know, in a matter of weeks away now. And I think it's that. I think that he's took him on at 15. He's brought him up to this level with the talent. He's talked to him about, you know, experience of playing majors, winning majors. But I think now he's to make him a great, he's got to beat Jannik Sinner, and probably with Ferrero in his corner, he probably hasn't got the ability to. It's a bit like Gareth Southgate managing England, really. To be fair, he's got the players, but doesn't know the technical things to do. And I think that's what he's got to do. I mean, but players have split from coaches before, and they've got on with their careers and done exceptionally well. So it's not like it's all over for Carlos Alcaraz. He's still plus 160 with Bet Rivers to win the Australian Open. You know, there is only 2 people in the world of men's tennis at the moment, but I just feel that he thinks that Sinner is a little bit ahead of him at this moment in time, and he needs to make tactical adjustments, and he probably feels that a change for Ferrero is probably beneficial for him.
Yeah, look, I was about to ask you, because, you know, and you've already answered the question to a certain extent. You know, we see coaching changes for other big name players, famous players. sometimes it seems to only last a few tournaments. Emma Raducanu seems to change coach every single week. I know it's a different thing, but ultimately, and I think Ming's come on the chat here and says, how important is a coach in tennis? And I think you've sort of answered that. It's not necessarily, how to play the game. It's more that mental aspect and getting people ready in the right mindset here. I mean, do we think he's going to hire a big name coach? Is it going to be someone from within his team that's already there? I mean, as you say, it seems strange for him not to maybe announce someone straight away. I'm going to move forward with this guy. Do you expect something like that to happen ahead of Australia?
I think he'll have someone earmarked already. I think discussions will probably be. I don't know who that person will be, but I think that what the coach usually in tennis for especially young players is somebody who they can ask questions to, talk to about, just keep them company. They like their company. Just talking through when they've won tournaments before. They saw the Goran Ivanisevic, Boris Becker, Ivan has been Andy Murray's coach. They're there just to get them through situations. The coach isn't there to turn around and say, "Oh, what you need to do is change." They make little tight alterations, but it's more companionship. And Ferrero was like a big brother to Carlos Alcaraz here. But I think for him now to really kick on, he probably feels that I can't win more majors with Sinner with what the tactical decisions Carlos Ferrero has done. I think the fitness coach is probably as important in tennis than your actual coach yourself. Get yourself physically. You see like what the fitness coach has done to Carlos Alcaraz himself, how much he's bulked up, how Andy Murray's bulked up over the years. I think the fitness coach is probably more important than your actual personal coach. But it is big news. Novak Djokovic had Marian Varda was his coach from 2006 to 2017. He come back and coached him again, and they were inseparable at going through his career. One of the most formidable partnerships they ever had. They won 20 slams together. I think they won 85 tournaments in his time, and they split. And Novak Djokovic went on to win another 4 majors and another 15. So it's not like it's all over. Carlos Alcaraz has got to make the decision, and I suppose the interesting thing for him to do it is that he's done it so young. It's usually that people change coaches when they're sort of, coming towards.
Maybe going on the down, maybe on the downgrade, maybe,
to change him on the upward. And I think that's more the fact that he realizes that
he needs something else.
Could accelerate away from him next year unless he makes some tactical decision, and he doesn't feel that. He's a great guy, but I think that he feels that he's got to make that change to make him better and compete in the majors, because the tennis season just literally comes in straight away like that, works off, and you're at it. And he's probably seen some things off season. They've clearly had a big bust up, which was not ideal, and it probably made his mind up that a change is good.
We're going to get to soccer and darts very shortly indeed. A lot of comments in the chat, which I'll get to, but let's just round off the tennis chat at the top after the breaking news. Just briefly on the Aussie Open, the men's prices. You mentioned it before, Nigel. These are the latest prices here, with Sinner and Alcaraz taking a huge percentage out of the book at plus 110 and plus 150. I mean, Alcaraz hasn't got a great record in Australia. There's going to be an awful lot of focus on him. Would he just naturally be one to fade, do you think, here? And when that draw comes out, if they're 1 and 2, which I presume they're going to be, there might be some value elsewhere. Just give us your thoughts on that.
I just think that when you're looking at someone to fade, you've got to look at who can possibly beat him. And really, on that field, who can beat Carlos Alcaraz other than Yannick Sinner? I just can't see anybody challenging. It's a major that when you start off fast, people who start the year quick usually do well at the Australian Open. So if player does well in the warm-up events, they usually go quite deep. It depends how he starts. You would expect that he would start fast. His conditioning will be spot on. And he did beat Sinner a couple of times in major finals last year. So it's not all over for him. But Yannick Sinner at this moment in time is the man to beat. Carlos Alcaraz has made the decision to change his coach. It's a big, big story. But as far as a betting story, because there isn't any real competition between the two of them, we haven't really seen much of a market move in it. But I think it might be a good one, actually. I don't look at it as a negative.
Could be a positive.
I think it could be a positive because you're too familiar. Someone around for a long, long time. And he's 22. He probably wants to test himself, to have a little aspects and see what else someone else says. But usually, when players change long-term coaches, they don't stick with the next one long. So he could be like he could change again until he finds one. There's a lot of changes going on. I said change about 6 times in that sentence.
Hey, listen, there's bust-ups, there's splits in all walks of life, in all teams. It happens. Some people get back together. Some people drift away. It's as simple as that. Matt says, "Oh my God, the Lordship Nigel Seeley has decided to grace us with his presence." What else is there here? The bust up sounds like Nigel and Dan fighting on the show. We'd never fight on the show.
No, no.
What
Off the show we do, but on the show we don't.
The real Brendan King said, "The big boss is back. Hi from a surprisingly mild Toronto. Only 2 degrees today." Tristan Will says, "Yeah, always thought it was a strange dynamic listening to someone inferior to you. I always remember the story with Glenn Hoddle when he was at Swindon and he was player manager, and he was player manager. He was the best player." And all the Swindon players are like, I can't do what you're trying me to do because Glenn Hoddle was such a terrific player. What else have we got here? So Bet and Sinner says one of our commenters here. Mac Trowbridge says, Carlos, generational raw talent. His manager got him to where he is, but now he needs one that can help him on the mental side, which is what Nigel was talking about. Also get the fellow Spaniard Nadal in his camp. That's an interesting
That would be blockbuster.
one.
That would be good.
That would be blockbuster, wouldn't it?
That would be good.
Ming says he's got awful record in the Aussie Open, which he has. Soccer chat coming up very shortly. Just let know, as Nigel, obviously tennis season starts in 2026. What is the betting weekly lineup? That's what we want to know. What's going to be coming content-wise from yourself and all of the tennis gang?
Yeah, I mean, you got the game bet match starting in the first week of January. We'll be back on Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday previewing all the tournaments, and obviously more during the Australian Open as well. And betting weekly WTA will be a 2 shows per week on a Saturday now, previewing the women's draw on the Saturday, and then we'll be back on Monday looking at match betting. And the big news is Rory Giovanni, because of work commitments, will not be doing the WTA show this year. It will be Tim Dennis, but Rory's still in part of the team. He'll be on Betting Weekly Tennis Live when we come on for the major tournaments later in the year, and he'll be still part of the team. But promotion for Tim Dennis. He is now going to be on the WTA show along with me, which means that Tim will be the main handicapper and I'll be the host of that as well. So all Fantastic. To come, and you know that's why I've had a little bit of a rest, because I've got such a busy start to the new year with the tennis.
When's the first tournament? Are they out in Dubai? Where do they play first?
No, they're in Australia. I think it's in Perth or Brisbane. But it's around about the 3rd of January. So the first week, straight in after Christmas, New Year, tennis season straight away.
Brilliant stuff. That is the tennis. That's the breaking news done and dusted. Plenty of you talking about the soccer that's to come. Peter, our Dutch correspondent, says he got a lot right talking about the Dutch Cup. There's more to come on that. We're not going to cover it, but Peter, get your picks in the chat, because I know there's plenty that like to follow your selections. I'll get to some more comments in just a sec. Notable soccer winners and losers last night. $13,000 play on Chelsea Cardiff live over 1.5 second half goals, which was a winner. That late goal did my plus 1.5 on Cardiff, which also did for someone who had $3,000 on the same play. There was Copa del Rey action as well, of course, last night, and we had some nice winners. $5,000 play on Deportivo live over 0.5 goals against Mallorca, which was a winner. Valencia, strong lean from us on the show yesterday. Plus 112 was a winner for a $3,500 play. And also Eibar against Elche live over 1.5 goals, which is a loser. I thought there'd be goals in that. There was only one, unfortunately. That's the best of the bets, the big winners and losers from the soccer on Tuesday night. We have got League Cup action coming away tonight. Quarterfinal action, Nigel. We've got updated futures prices here. Obviously, Chelsea have shortened because they are through to the quarterfinal, to the semi-final already, having beaten Cardiff last night. The plus 350. Arsenal plus 230. Man City plus 230 here. Dutch the pair around about minus 160-ish. Obviously, big teams have been winning this competition, Nigel, more often than not. City won it 4 times on the spin. Liverpool, United, Liverpool, Newcastle, the last 4. Any sort of leans, anyone you'd be putting your money on? A Palace value at plus 1,200. What do you think?
I think Palace got. I've been saying it for weeks in the Premier League. They've run out of legs. I mean, they've still got the Conference League as well on the Thursday. Going for Europe in the title, I think they'll be a little bit of a fade to me. Fulham and Brentford were going to come onto their hopes tonight, but you got. I just think it's going to be those top 4 in the semi-finals. I just don't think Arsenal would be any value for me at plus 230. Obviously, the Premier League is their holy grail. The Champions League, they're the favourites to win that as well. You know, that'll be an amazing achievement if they win that. And I don't think the EFL will be on their radar. Man City, again, they're in a title race. Distraction here. I think if I was given a free bet now, the fact that they're already into the semi-finals, I'd have to be on Chelsea at plus 350. They've got the squad to win it. We saw last year they won they're good on cups. They won a European Cup last year. They won the World Club Championships. And they've got good pedigree in this competition. Last time Man City won it, surprised me. I was doing the research here. They 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
I know it's only like 5 years ago, but when you think how dominant Man City were in this competition,
and they've not been in the final either. Yeah,
it was a bit of a shock there. But I think if you're going to have a bet now, you're going to bet Chelsea. I still like Chelsea in one-off cup competitions. Masters are at it, always good in cup competitions. I know Jack Wright gave them as a pick to win the FA Cup this season, but in the semi-finals and third favourites in the semi-finals, I think that's got to be a little bit of value, because if we do get a shock tonight, which is possible, they will shoot up dramatically. So, and they're not going to change really anyway if Man City and Newcastle both win tonight. So, yeah, Chelsea would be my bet now.
Can't really argue with that. I still think it's one of Arsenal and Man City, but Chelsea are through. We'll see what happens. Arsenal, of course, play next week. That game against Crystal Palace is on the Tuesday. Be interesting to see what happens. Of course, over the next few match days of the League Cup, of which we've got games tonight. We're going to preview both of them. So get your picks in if you are getting involved in the League Cup tonight. Where was the parlay that I saw? From somebody, was it Peter who given a cheeky parlay? Paris Saint-Germain to lift the Intercontinental Cup. I think Nathan's done something for that for us, hasn't he? Where can we find that?
I asked him if he could do a pick for me, and he did it, but he didn't make the newsletter. So he did it for the newsletter, but he didn't make the newsletter this week. But I can't remember. Do you remember what the pick was? I can't remember what the pick was.
I can't remember what it was.
Paris Saint-Germain are going strong though. I know that tonight,
yeah.
and their team looks strong. But that'll be an interesting watch this evening how they get on there. But
Peter
would fancy him to win that.
Yeah, Peter likes PSG to lift the trophy. So, Penos, whatever. Atletico Madrid on the money line, very short away from home in the Copa del Rey, and City to qualify, and it pays around about even money. What else have we got? Yeah, Greg's saying PSG. I've got a full team out tonight. And we're not going to talk soccer, says Shish. Yes, we are right now. American boys got the daily double up. Yes, they did. Mike's talking about Chelsea in a cup double, potentially. Right, let's talk about Man City Brentford first up, Nigel, here, because this is the earlier kickoff. This is 2:30 Eastern. City minus 220, Brentford are plus 510. City were minus $5 to win this fixture in the league last year. This is obviously a cup game. We're not quite sure who's going to play. Doku is injured. Marmoush and Nouri probably would have started there at AFCON. Sharda's back from a ban for Brentford, but he might not start. Brentford have made big changes for all their League Cup games so far this season. It's one that I'm thinking minus 220 Man City or minus one on the Asian line might be the play, but I'd rather look at some props. What do you think, Nigel, on this one?
Well, I think you've got to be very, very brave to have a bet on this match before the team news comes out. And I think that is the advice in this match tonight, to see more the team that Man City is the key thing, and the key whether he plays Haaland or Foden. Haaland hasn't even featured in any of the two matches so far in this cup competition. He hasn't even been on the bench. So you would think that Haaland will be missing this evening with some big matches coming up, in the Premier League title race. And you've got to protect this guy in European football as well. Why risk him at home to Brentford? Brentford had just been so bad on the road. I mean, awful performances. I thought they were pretty woeful against Leeds. They were terrible against Crystal Palace when I saw them play early in the season. They average at best against Arsenal. It didn't offer anything. And then when they played Tottenham, a Tottenham side that you would have thought they'd been up for the challenge, managed by their former manager, they were absolutely dreadful in that match as well. So Brentford road form is shocking, but it's all factored into the team that Man City are going to put out here. City are just scoring goals for fun. I mean, the amount of goals they scored at least two in almost, I think it was like the 9 of their last 10 matches. They scored at least 2 goals. The only time they didn't score 2 goals, or 8 of the last 10, the only time they didn't score 2 was when they played Bayer Leverkusen, which he rested a lot of key players.
Yeah, changed the team.
And then they didn't score at Newcastle. They only scored 1, but on that match, if they played that match 100 times again, the XG was phenomenal. They would have won that fairly comfortably. So it's a team news related play here. And when you look at it, I mean, you've got to fancy Man City to win this. I mean, -225. And the other thing we saw last night with Chelsea, they didn't start with a very strong side, but they brought all the big guns off the bench in the second half, and they won it convincingly. And I think that's the kind of thing, the angles we want to have tonight. If I was looking at some of these matches, I'd be doing things like the second half to see more goals than the first half. When they make the changes, they come on and they win the match. And I went through all the records here, and obviously Brentford have got a terrible record at home or on the road in the Premier League. But in this competition, they've gone to 2 matches away and they've won them both without conceding. I know Bournemouth away that's a bit of a test. It was a below Bournemouth's strength side there. Grimsby 5-0. This is a big ask. But Brentford have done pretty well, against Man City over the years. Yeah. This is not a team. They've never been really beaten heavily by them. And they will come in here with a bit of confidence and a bit of hope. They've got a big match at the weekend away at Wolves. I mean, that's a big match. I was looking at Brentford actually to get relegated in the Premier League. I thought 25-1 was a big price because I think there's one place, and I don't believe that West Ham should be minus money and Brentford should be 25-1. I think there's one place up for grabs. I think Burnley and Wolves are gone. But the interesting thing I come across here is that in the last 7 matches where Brentford have played Manchester City, so there's been 7 matches, Man City have only scored 10 goals in 7 matches, which by Man City standards isn't a lot. So they don't Brentford put up a decent showing against them. But in all those 10 goals have been scored by Haaland and Foden in 7 matches. Haaland scored 4, Foden scored 6. 6 goals against Brentford. He scored more goals against Brentford than any other team. He scored a hat-trick against Brentford. He scored 2 goals against Brentford. They're the only 2 goal scorers that have scored in 7 matches, which stretches over 4 seasons in the Premier League. Now, that is some kind of shows you, and these 2 are the informed pair in English football at this moment in time. So Foden has started both of the Carabao Cup matches, and without Doku, without Mamouche, likelihood he's not going to play Foden. They haven't got any other striker. And I think that Foden may start here, given his record. And I believe that Foden, if he starts, I think at plus 180, even if he doesn't start, the bet's void anyway. So bet Foden to score any time here at plus 180, 6 goals in the last 7 against Brentford. That's it. And hat-tricks, 2 goals. He's an absolute fire at this moment in time. He may play as a false number 9 because they haven't got a striker. And Foden's have a shot on target is minus 167. I know that's a bit of a short one, but you could parlay that up. But I'm focusing on props. I'm looking at Foden here. I don't expect Haaland to play, but I think that plus 180 on Foden is a big price. I mean, Divine Muxa has never scored a goal, and he's a shorter price to score first than Foden. He's only 18. I mean, he's an England under 17 and under 19 player, but he's not. He's up against a Premier League defender. He's not playing against Grimsby or Swansea like the last round. But I do think Foden is the way I'll be going here at plus 180.
Plus 180, Phil Foden. The interesting thing I think about that, and you've hit the nail on the head a little bit, they haven't got a striker, and it's who's going to play there. And yes, he's going to rotate, but Foden might end up playing as that false 9. The other players that I looked at, and again, it's team news dependent. Oscar Bob could well start. He started both of the Carling Cup games, the League Cup games so far. He's plus 120 to have a shot on target. And Rico Lewis is plus 360 to have a shot on target. Now, he's a right back, but when he burst into the side, Guardiola played him in midfield. Nico Gonzalez has been playing recently. He played the first 2 League Cup games, but because Rodri's still out, he's been playing Premier League and Champions League. So he might get a rest. Rico Lewis might play, and it's a big might. He might play central midfield. If they have plenty of the ball, over 0.5 shots on target is plus 360. But team news is going to be absolutely massive on this one, and where they're going to play.
The other thing for this match as well is if Haaland doesn't play, which we're saying that we think is a huge doubt, and obviously with no Mamouche, who's going to take the penalties for them? Would the penalty taker for Bernardo Silva?
Might be, yes. Really,
he's plus 550. I don't know. Well, Foden could. I don't know who's going to take the penalties. If anybody can have an idea who they think will take the penalties, Reinders. I don't think he'll take.
Might do, but he might not start.
Yeah, I mean that's another one. I mean the other player I quite like to look at as well, because he can play in any position as well, is Nick O'Reilly. I mean he can play in any.
Yeah,
position.
He's a midfielder really.
Yeah,
but because he's first choice in the Premier League team. You just think, will he get a little bit of a rest? And he might do. And this is the problem with all these cup games, as we know. I'm just trying to find out if anyone else has taken a City penalty in one of the cup competitions this season.
I think it'd be Bernardo Silva if he plays. I think he would probably take the penalty. He'd probably be captain and take the penalty, I would have thought. He would be my guess. But that was it. I didn't know who would take the penalties if Haaland or Mamouche isn't there. And the fact is they haven't got a striker. They will probably play a false number 9, which means Foden will start, and he's got an exceptional record against Brentford. So it's an obvious one. But when you think about it, he's up there with the most prolific goal scorers in the Premier League at this moment in time. You can get him at plus 180 at home against a Brentford side that we expect to rest players. And with big matches coming up in the Premier League at the weekend.
What else have we got on the comments? Duncan says 3-0 City or minus 275 on the Asian line, that sort of thing. These games are tricky when often they only get 45 to 60 minutes. Yeah, this is true. Ray, good evening to you. Brad Betts 40, Brentford over 2.5 for the 15 of their cup matches the last few years. City over 2.5, 10 of 11 matches. Some good stats for the game. Over 2.5 goals market is hitting 3 of City's last 4 Carabao Cup matches. Most of the money on City, 87% the money, 89% the tickets, and most of the money on the overs, 94%, 92%. It is a game that you can watch live if you've got a BetRivers account, and you can watch on the BetRivers app as well, as you can Newcastle Fulham, which we're going to get to in just a sec, Trabzonspor, Alanyaspor, which is Turkish Cup football. There's Copa de Brazil fixtures, Portuguese Cup fixtures, Dutch Cup games as well. Peter, put your picks in the chat for everybody.
Yeah,
you can watch those live. And we've got 3 Swiss Super League matches that are streamed live as well. We haven't got a Swiss Super League correspondent just yet. But if you want to be it, DM Nigel. No, don't DM Nigel, because he gets enough in his DMs. Let's talk about Newcastle against Fulham next up here, because we have got the first leg of the daily double in this game as well. Eddie Howe needs a result, Nigel, doesn't he? After the Sunderland loss, they're minus 159, which I think is fair. They're around about plus 110, I think, minus 1 on the Asian line if you think they're going to win easy. And they did beat Spurs 2-0 last round and Bradford 4-1 the previous round. And they're 3 games against Premier League opposition last season. And, of course, they went on to win the competition. 3 games at home at St. James's. They won by more than 1 goal. That was against Chelsea, Brentford and Arsenal. So I can see minus 1. But, again, they're going to rotate. We're not quite sure who's going to start. Voltemada did start the previous match. So did the likes of Tonali and Chow. But again, it's a difficult one. And Fulham, having been shocking away from home, Nigel, have won their last 2. This is a tricky one if you just want to bet Newcastle. But I tend to think that Eddie Howe's got to get a result out of this one, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I spoke to our newsletter correspondent, the editor, Paul Hughes, obviously a big Newcastle fan, and he said to me, Newcastle win, and I think he's given an Instagram pic. They're going to win by -1. I don't share his optimism. Do you think so? I don't share his optimism now. I think this is a little bit tougher than that, because Newcastle got a defensive crisis. Dan Burn obviously injured.
Yeah,
they've injured. Got Trippier out. I don't know. Nick Pope is still out, and I'm still not. I'm not convinced by Aaron Ramsdale as a striker. He's always got a mistake in him as well. So they've got a defensive crisis. He's got 3 defenders out for this side. Dan Burn as well. And I think that match against Sunderland would have taken a huge amount out of their legs in this match. Obviously, Fulham played Burnley in a 3-2 match. They won, but I think the intensity of that Tyne and Weir derby would have been huge on that Newcastle side. So I'm not sharing that optimism so much, because I genuinely think Fulham score here. I mean, Fulham are scoring goals for fun. They put 4 past Manchester City. They put 3 past Burnley. They put goal against Crystal Palace. 2 at Tottenham. They got goals, and they're playing a very, very entertaining game of football. And I fancy goals tonight. I think both teams to score. Yes, is my banker of this match. It's minus 141. I think it's actually been betting to minus 150. Harry Wilson has probably been the most informed Premier League player over the last sort of other than a month. This time, Foden and Harry Wilson's doing brilliant stuff. I think he's been involved in 11 goal contributions in the last 7 matches for Fulham. So he's been absolutely brilliant. 6 of the last 7 away matches for Fulham. Both teams have scored. Yes, they are the kings of the both teams to score. They score in pretty much every match they play. The only time they haven't scored in a row this season is when they went to Chelsea and they got beat 2-0, but they've scored in every single match. And Newcastle do concede. They conceded against Burnley. They conceded 2 against Tottenham. They conceded against Man City. they do concede goals. So I like both teams to score here. And remember, the two of them played in October, the end of October, and it was a 2-1 win for Newcastle. So both teams scored would have cashed in that match as well. So that's what I like here. I'm not really convinced that Newcastle will win this easy because they've conceded in their last 8 matches, and I worry about that. And Fulham have got goals in them. Defensively, they are giving up chances, and I do think we should have got a game for goals. I expect over 2.5 goals to cash here, but I think the best bet is both teams to score yes, which is part 1 of my daily double today. So both teams to score yes. Newcastle, Fulham, I expect goals, but I'm not rushing about Newcastle at -159 with Dan Burn out, Trippier out, Pope out, more defenders out, because that gives more hope to Fulham, and I expect Fulham to score.
Yeah, just to back up what Nigel was saying as well. I mean, I like overs, and it's a similar price, Newcastle and money line, or both teams to score, yes. But Fulham, and I think we talked about this on the Premier League show, they've changed their style a little bit. Emile Smith-Rowe came back into the side. Whether he'll start tonight, I don't know. But Marco Silva, who's not got the worst record, in the league. I looked at some of the stats and thought, I bet he's got a shocker. I bet he just, completely pies it off. But he got to the semi-finals a few years ago, got beat off Liverpool. And they've started to play a bit more aggressive, a bit more attacking. Iwobi's played alongside Berger rather than Lukic and Berger. And Smith-Rowe started the last 3, having only started 1 previously. Just more attacking. Nigel rattled off all the goals. Last 3 games, they've just scored more goals. The games have involved more goals. Obviously, that anomaly with the City game having 9 in it, but generally I think if you bet on goals one way or the other, you're gonna get a profit. Both teams to score yes. First leg of Nigel's daily double. 54% of the money on Fulham, 67% of the tickets on Newcastle. That is unusual. It means the smart plays are on Fulham, the rec money is on Newcastle, but generally Newcastle at home against a non-top 6 side, you would always suggest, Nigel, that the cash is going to come for Newcastle. That's interesting the way the market's gone for that, do you not think?
Well, I think people looked at that Sunderland game and just thought how much that took out of them. They got a massive game at the weekend as well at Chelsea at home. Huge match. And they got Man United after that as well, all crammed into Christmas. And I know that this might not be the most important fixture for them, but they are the defending champions, and they have scored at least 2 goals in their last 8 home matches. So they do offer a goal threat. Walter Marder want to bounce back after that fantastic home goal, the header he scored against Sunderland. Hopefully he can get a goal at the right end for the team this year, this time around. But I think this is a test, because I think any time when you're betting someone at -159 or -160 and you are going into it thinking it's -150 that both teams to score and you're going to concede, I worry about that. The fact that, you can win ugly as well. And I don't know if Newcastle can win ugly. I think they're very open. Defensive frailties at the moment. A goalkeeper that I'm not convinced by. Their main 2 defenders in terms of Trippier and Burnout, I think Fulham will get at them. And I think they'll score.
Ming says Walter Marder will be keen to make up for his own goal at the weekend. What else you got here? A guy called A says I fancy goals in the match. COD Gaming saying over 10 corners. Evans Newcastle game looks good to him. Brad's got all the stats for you as well, and very much points in a both teams to score and an overs game. That is for sure. A guy called A says, guys, you're making me believe that Fulham might produce a shock. I still think Newcastle will win for what it's worth.
But I think I'm not going to go that far. I think they'll score. So I think, if you're taking Fulham at +390, and obviously they score 30, it's a trading game. But I think with the corners market, I always like, people say about corners.
Game state, innit?
I think it's a second half. If Newcastle are 1-0 down or they're 0-0 chasing the match, and you can bet over 6 at half time, I'd much rather take the over 6 at half time when they're chasing the game rather than take the 10 in the first half, because you could get 3 in the first half and 7 in the second half and just fall short.
Get better price.
I like doing it in the second half, because also as well, if Newcastle are 2-0 up and the game's over,
leave it.
The game just going to fizzle out. So corners for me, I always think they're much better value in playing them in play with Bet Rivers at half time when you or if Newcastle goal behind.
That fair, and you can say the same about United at home, Liverpool at home, those type of teams, those type of grounds. Peter says Newcastle minus 0.75 on the Asian line. He's going against Fulham. Brad Betts talking about both teams score 0 from 3 cup matches at home. You give us lots of stats that are positive. That's a little bit of a negative. But you've got to put them all together. Over 2.5 goals market is hitting 8 of Newcastle's last 10 matches, and both teams to score and the over 2.5 goals hitting each of Fulham's last 4. Let's get on to one of Nigel's favourite subjects. This has been really good thread throughout the season. Yourself and Neil on the dojo talking about Hearts, which has been really good fun. There's plenty of money that's been shelled out. Obviously, Hearts aren't in action tonight, but Celtic are. Have we got the...
Just go back to that Brad stat there. Both teams have scored 0 from 3. That's not actually factually true because they beat...
Come on, Brad, sort it out.
They beat Tottenham 2-0 in the Carabao, in this Carabao Cup, and then a round before they were at home and they beat Bradford 4-1. So both teams scored and they conceded against Bradford. So that gives me great hope that they're conceding against a League One side in Bradford.
I can't find the futures. I don't think we've got the futures for this situation. I can let you know what they are. Celtic are -167. Let me just take that off for a second. Celtic are -167 to win the league, Nigel, at the moment. Hearts +250, Rangers +450. Hearts are 6 points clear. Celtic have got 2 games in hand, one of which is tonight. What does your book look like at the moment, yourself and Neil? What's the latest here?
Well, before we took the Hearts position, the Hearts was obviously, if you've watched the dojo, you'll know that we tipped up Hearts at 28 to 1 and 25 and 22. And I've bet them like each week. I stand to win a nice amount, and I haven't done any hedging or anything like that. But also, a friend of mine wanted to back Celtic at the start of the season with me, or a friend of a friend asked me to bet. He wanted to bet them with me, and I said, yeah, okay, no problem. So I took his bet. Heavy minus money. So because I thought Rangers might do too well, but got that completely wrong. I didn't expect Hearts to be the team that comes through. The feeling was that Celtic weren't a very good team this year, and the Scottish League had dropped so much that Celtic were a team that they could get at. And obviously Tony Bloom has invested into Hearts, and that's one of the reasons why he done it, because he thought that Celtic were gettable. And they did look gettable, and then all of a sudden Martin O'Neill come in, turned them around, didn't lose a match in his time there, galvanised the club, got them back into, they were -$6 to win the title. Then they brought in the new manager, and things have got a little bit peaked on for him at the moment. Wilfred Monty has been brilliant for me. They played three matches and lost all 3. I mean, it's incredible.
First time ever.
And the performance last time out against St Mirren to lose 3-1 was shocking. Obviously, Roma was a loss, and Hearts was a defeat as well. But home to Roma, you were underdog. The Hearts were pumped and won it. But the St Mirren performance gave me really, really big hope. But what doesn't give me hope is the last 7 matches between Dundee United and Celtic is 25-2 on aggregate to Celtic in the last 7 matches. So you can see them at -210. Dundee United is +510 and 320, but Dundee have drawn a few games. They drew 2-2 at home to Rangers here, and it could be a good time to get at them, but their record against Celtic is atrocious. Celtic won 9-0 a couple of years ago, 5-0, 4-0. They've won this fairly comfortably, pretty much. But I got a feeling Dundee will score here. Again, both teams to score, yes, -141. That was going to be into the daily double, but I've gone a little bit left field with my final selection. But if you want to put that in a parlay, I think Celtic are gettable. They're conceding goals. They're not a very good team. Yes, you can see by Scottish performances in Europe at the moment. This is probably one of the worst years for Scottish football in terms of their top teams.
Club sides,
that's why for club sides, obviously the international team got the World Cup, but obviously that's why Hearts, Hibs give a real good chance here. And I think Dundee United will be looking at this thinking, you know what, we've got a great chance here, +510. Whether they can do it or not, I don't know. I don't think so. I'd probably be betting Dundee +1.25 if I could get that kind of line, 1.5. But I just think they score. I think Celtic will concede here. -141 would be my bet, but hopefully Dundee United get the job, and then Hearts at the weekend will play Rangers, which is a massive match. If they can win that, and we drop points, Celtic drop points, we're on the verge of favouritism again. But Celtic are gettable. I'm not quite sure if this Dundee United side are the team to do it. Last couple of seasons, 5-0, 2-0 and 9-0, 25-2 and aggregate. And they've only scored in 2 goals in one game. They failed to score in 6. All those 6 matches, Celtic have 1-0. So, but I think this version, this Celtic side, this defence is frail. And I think Dundee United will score -141. Both teams will score, yes, because it's going to be nervy. The manager is under pressure with firing after 3 matches. He's already been told some of the comments he's been getting, some of the abuse he's been getting has been incredible after 3 matches in charge. So it's not a happy place at the moment, Celtic Football Club. The AGM had to be stopped the other week because they were heckling the Dermot Desmond's son, and they only stopped the AGM and they expect a lot more, and there's pressures on them at the moment to deliver. And this man looks out of his depth completely.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I looked at there was a poll on one of the Scottish newspapers in the UK, and it's like, should he go? And he's like 83% said should he go. He's been in charge for 3. I mean, if you're Martin O'Neill, and he says that he was he was only in for a certain amount of time, and then he was asked, that's it, we don't want you anymore. He wasn't given the option to stay on. But if you're Martin O'Neill and you think, hang on, if I go to this game and then after that it's Hearts, then Roma, then a cup final, I'll tell you what, I'll just go before those 3 just in case.
Yeah.
I'll go on then. I'll go. That's fine. It's absolutely fine. Roma, it's absolutely fine. I'll swerve that one. You mentioned the Asian line. Plus 1.25 Dundee United is minus 143. It's short. They're just not. They're just not very good, are they? Dundee United. That's the problem. They don't win a lot.
They draw a lot. They draw a lot.
Yeah, they do draw a lot.
With this, I looked at the weather. I was hoping it'd be absolutely freezing and like pelting down with rain and hail and like freezing cold and really get into it. But it's not. It's quite mild, and that put me off. The wetter the match against Hearts, the weather was awful, and the match against St Mirren, the weather was awful, and that was one of the reasons why I think they didn't fancy it. But the weather looks pretty good tonight, which put me off a little bit of a wager on the Dundee United. But Dundee United do score. They do score at home. They got a 2-2 draw against Rangers in recent weeks, and Rangers are playing well. And I do think they'll score here again. So whether you want to go with 1.25 or both teams to score, yes, it's a similar price. I'm opting for the both teams to score, yes.
Yeah,
I'll get minus 141.
Duncan says, you're not selling Dundee United to me there at all. I've been to Tannadice. It's a great ground. Think I'll leave that one. Brad Betswood says, imagine walking into your job on the 3rd day and people asking you to get fired. Gross. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Happened many times to me. 2 days. 1 day.
He's had 3 games. Give him a chance. I like Wilfried Nancy as someone who used to cover Major League Soccer. He was part of the academy setup at Montreal, and he got the job when Thierry Henry left, and he did okay. And then he went to Columbus Crew and won MLS Cup. He won Leagues Cup with Crew as well. He's and Columbus Crew are a really good side for a few years. So I like him as a
those
coach.
Venn diagrams and things like that.
Yeah, I just
can't see the old firm
this is it. Celtic's the wrong. It's the wrong place for him. He's landed Celtic. They're in a bad place, and I don't think he's the right fit. But he's a good coach. Bradfield is Celtic fans have watched 0 Columbus Crew matches. I hope the players buy into his system. If not, how could any manager find success if the players choose not to commit? This is true. You've got to buy into what coaches are going to do. Both teams failed to hit 4 of the last 5 games between Dundee and Celtic. Nigel rattled off the aggregates there as well, but Celtic have lost their last 3. 4 of Dundee United's last 6 matches have ended in a draw. Got to say Dundee United, not Dundee. It's just down the road. You ever been to Dundee, Nigel?
I have been to Dundee. I flew into Dundee.
Literally other side of the street down the road. It's incredible.
I went to the horse racing at Perth. It's very close
track.
to
The old Scottish National up there. Brilliant.
Very
nice. We have got the second part of Nigel's Daily Double coming very shortly indeed. We did talk copper last night, so it would be remiss of us not to just rattle through some of the prices here. Unfortunately, the Barcelona game didn't cover the handicap. We didn't get over 3.5 goals. They scored 2 late on. It was a real struggle for them against Guadalajara. You will see that Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid are extremely short price favourites to win away at Atletico Baleares and Talavera de la Reina, respectively. Handicaps, as Will White said on the show a few weeks ago, when it comes to the Copa del Rey, you can take the lower league teams. It usually pays off. It has done over the course of the last few rounds of the competition. So just bear that in mind. The interesting game for me, I thought, was Cultural Leonesa against Levante. This is a Segunda side against a team that's bottom of La Liga, but they have sacked their coach recently, Julian Calero, ahead of the previous round. And he's only had 1 game in charge, the new guy, Alvaro del Moral, who's only in temporary charge. Their game at the weekend was postponed against Villarreal because of bad weather. So he's had a little bit more time to maybe implement what he wants to do. So Levante at plus 170 is each of 2. Draw no bet is about minus 120. I don't think it's the worst play. They've been a little bit better. Only 2 games in. They were beaten by Osasuna 2-0, but they performed fairly well. And from a defensive standpoint, their XG numbers were the best that they've been for around about 3 months, even though they were beaten in that game. So there are a slight green shoots of recovery. Cultural Leonesa are not bottom of Segunda, but on expected points they should be. So maybe that is a top flight side you can back. This is Levante we're talking about. I'm going to play draw no bet, incidentally, on that game. But watch your handicaps when it comes to the bigger matches. The rest of the games, incidentally, we have got La Liga teams away at lower tier sides, apart from the Alaves Sevilla game, which is an all top flight fixture, as you can see. We've got Osasuna away. They've got a poor away record in La Liga against Huesca that did win at the weekend. Celta Vigo are short price favourites, as are Villarreal, who are doing well in the league, terribly in the Champions Leagues. I'm sure Nigel is aware. But quite frankly, Levante draw no bet is my pick for the Copa games tonight. In terms of where the money's been going, every single favourite's been backed with Bet Rivers. Every single La Liga team, Levante, Celta Vigo, Villarreal, Osasuna, Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid in the all top flight game. Most of the money, interestingly, even though they are second favourites, are on Sevilla away at Alaves. They're plus $2. Alaves are the favourites, but the cash has come for the Andalusian side. Right, second leg of the daily double is coming your way. Darts is Nigel's bag. Gets a good handle on what goes on at Ali Pally. You going this year, Nigel?
Yep, going the 30th of December. I might go a couple of times actually, but there's a group of us going on the 30th of December. I know you don't like it, but I've got a 100% record on the darts this tournament. Two of my advent calendar bets have both won, and there's a couple of things. There's a couple of matches that I haven't got much of an interest in. I've got no interest in the James Wade match, Martin Shin, the match against Stephen Burt. No interest.
Okay, Give us your second leg of the daily double first, then, because this is in the Matt Campbell Adam Savada game. What's the I'm
going to go. What is it? It's a Canada v USA match, so it's going to be interesting for our viewers. If you know stateside, or it's Canada up against you got Canada, the Canadian Campbell up against Savada, the American. I'm going to go with the American at plus 110 here. Not on the daily double, but he opened up last week plus 180. It was plus 180 Savada. I made it a 50-50 game that much. I thought it was a pick and match. I think the price probably is about right now. But even earlier today when I was doing this, he was plus 133. That was only an hour ago. So Savada, I made that a lot closer, plus 180, plus 133. I've gone with, to put the daily double, I've tried to boost it up to get a decent price to be a little bit safe. So I'm a little bit careful. I've gone for Savada plus 1.5 sets. So it's the first of 3 sets. So that means that Savada, if he loses, he can lose 3-2, or if he wins, we got a winning score. So as long as he doesn't lose 3-0 or 3-1, I think he probably win the match. I think plus 110 on the money line is probably still a smidgen of value, even though it's plus 180. I think that's a genuine 50-50 call. So Savada plus 1.5 set spread. So the only way we lose is if Campbell wins 3-0 or 3-1. Campbell's ranked 59 in the world. Savada's not in the rankings because he doesn't play a lot over here, but I've seen him in the World Cup of Darts. I like what I see from him. He's not, neither of these are really any great shakes, but Savada, to me, I think Campbell's just a fade. I don't like him, and I think that to Savada, what he's shown in America and his form could be a little bit closer in this. The other one that came very close to me was Raymond van Barneveld, 58 years of age now. He's up against Stefan Belmont, who's from Switzerland. Belmont is 111 in the world rankings. Raymond van Barneveld is obviously a 5-time champion of the world here. Obviously, he's not at his best at 58, but he's seen it, he's done it, he's been on the stage. I think he'll win that fairly comfortably. I like him minus 1.5 at minus 110. I also like him to win 3-0, which is plus 310. I don't think Stefan Belmont will give him any problems at all. But my daily double bet is Savada. I'm with the USA to beat Canada. Plus 1.5 at minus. It was minus 177. It's now minus $2. And I think that boosts the daily double up to plus 151. So Savada, Modus League player, good player. I think he beat Matt Campbell. I don't rate Campbell at all. I think that should be a pick and match. And I'm just going to play very careful and go for him plus 1.5 sets.
Plus 151 for the double. That's Newcastle, Fulham, both teams to score yes in the 3:15 Eastern kickoff between Newcastle and Fulham. And then in the darts, Matt Campbell, Adam Savada. We like Savada plus 1.5 sets.
Someone said there about Savada, why do I think he's any good? It's not the question. I think he's any good. I don't think he's any good. I think they're both pretty poor players, but I think Matt Campbell's not very good. And you know, what I've seen from him in the limited of things, I think his averages are very low. He's not a big 180 hitter. Savada is in the big 180. I'll go under the 180s in this match here. But I think Matt Campbell was looked at the world ranking, saw one of them at 59, the other one not in the top 200 because he doesn't play here, and that's why they've come up with the price. I don't think that that's why he's been bet from plus 180 to plus 110, because the world rankings is the start base of where these odds have derived from, and I don't think that they're anywhere near that, because the difference between someone in 59, the PDC world rankings, in 200 is minimal. Yeah. And what I've seen from Campbell is not very good at all.
There we go. It's more of a fade of Campbell. We're not saying that any are very good Grazza, but we're suggesting that Savada can keep it relatively tight. And if he wins, all the better. Plus 1.5. Have that as a single. All part of the daily double. Plus 151 is the price. That wraps it up for today. Many thanks to everyone who has joined us over the course of the last 45, 50 minutes or so. Plenty of streaming action on the site. If you've got an account, log on. You can watch a lot of the soccer that's coming your way, including those big games, of course, in the League Cup. More NBA chat coming your way. I say more NBA chat, just NBA chat, full stop, from Mike and Doug a little bit later on today. But that is your lot from myself and Nigel. We'll be back on over the course of the next few days with, what's the schedule, Nigel? We've got Premier League to record tomorrow.
Premier League, extra time Friday.
Extra time on Friday.
Yeah.
Usual stuff. Plenty of content coming your way. Thanks for joining us. Have a good betting day today. We will speak again tomorrow.